Hey guys, we're here to instruct you through the 90-90 hip capsule stretch. So here we have Amy in the 90-90 position. So we're going to start with front leg. So her hands are going to post up on either side and she's going to try to get up nice and tall. From there, she's going to make sure the right side of her pelvis is rotated around forward. Staying up nice and tall through her chest. From her pelvis, I want her to think about pulling her belly button forward. If you think of your pelvis like a cup, I want you to think about tipping the cup forward to pour a little bit of the liquid out. Your chest stays up, belly button drags forward, and your pelvis stays rotated around so that it is square to this front leg. You should feel the stretch deep in your front leg glute. And from this position, you will be holding that stretch for 2 minutes. So from here, we'll give you a side view. You can see her chest is relatively upright and her belly button's pulling forward. So after 2 minutes, you'll go into PAILS and rails. So PAILS are that progressive angle contraction where she's going to start pushing her whole front leg down into the ground. Building that up to her greatest, safest effort. She should feel it even more intensely in that same area of her left hip for about 30 seconds. Then, as you come out of PAILS, you stay in the same stretch and you start to go into your rails, which is your closing angle stretch. So she's going to pull her belly button forward and then start lifting her front leg up towards her chest. So you can see she put her hand on her ankle. She's going to lift her ankle up into her hand as hard as she can, contracting everything in that closing angle. So her abs, her inner thigh, her glute, and it should pull you into the stretch even more. And that's for about 10 seconds maximal effort. So that would be your front leg part of the stretch. Again, we didn't have her hold for 2 minutes, but you'll be holding that for 2 minutes to create that tissue lengthening. So now on her back leg, there are a few different ways to get into this. So the way I'm going to cue her is to start to turn her chest and her pelvis towards her back foot. Her front leg needs to stay glued down to the floor, sometimes putting a tennis ball there to give you just a little bit of feedback. So continue to push down. So her chest turns back, her pelvis turns back. Once you run out of that rotational room, what I want her to do is sit the right side of her glute down towards the floor. So if you have blocks, you can use your blocks to help you stay up tall. You know, she had her arm on her leg, that would also be fine. But really trying to make that force, once you wind up as much rotation as possible, straight vertical to help bring the stretch into the side of your hip. Also making sure you keep your knee engaged down into the floor will help keep it out of your knee. If you keep your ankle pulled up, another way to keep the stretch from coming down into your knee. Typically, if you're feeling it there, it's because you've gone beyond where your hip can actually rotate from. So another modification, if you're pretty tight, would be to kind of post back a little bit. Here, again, keeping that front leg down, and it's the same general motion. You're rotating your chest, you're rotating your pelvis, and then you're trying to sit straight down. Where you should feel the stretch is primarily through the outside of that back hip. And that would be your 2-minute hold. So after your 2-minute hold, you're going to go into your PAILS and rails contractions. So for your PAILS, you can put your hand on the outside of your knee. You're going to think about driving the inside of your heel into the ground, and you're going to start lifting your knee into that hand. Trying to maintain that end range position, tightening everything through the outside of your hip, lifting up into your greatest, safest effort for 30 seconds. Then, staying frozen in that position, you're going to go into your rails contraction. So there are a few different cues that work for different people. One way I like to cue people is to have them grab the back of their thigh and the front of their front leg shin and squeeze their arms together to help create a radiation through their trunk. From there, I tell people to push the inside of their knee down into the ground and think about rolling that front leg, or that back leg femur forward. So if you think about rolling that femur forward, like you're trying to roll your whole leg up, your foot may come off the ground a little bit, but you are at pretty close to end range. So you should feel this deep in your glute. So squeeze together, Amy. You can even assist a little bit with that roll forward. Push that knee into the ground. Tighten everything through the side of your hip. And can you feel that deep in your hip? You know, another way again, if you're in the posted out position, again, think about driving that knee down, lifting that heel up. Amy, any other suggestions for how you like to heel?
Yeah, I like to think about driving the knee down on that back leg while you're sitting your back glute straight down to the ground. So it's that same downward vertical force while you're trying to create pressure down into the ground with your knee simultaneously. And I feel like that helps with that deep glute activation into internal rotation.
Along that line, Amy's pretty flexible here, but if you're not quite as flexible, you can take your yoga block and you can actually kind of pre-position it right under your sit bone of that back hip and really focus on keeping your sit bone glued down to that block and then going into that same motion of rotate forward, hold right there. Don't let your sit bone come up off of whether that's a yoga block, a tennis ball, whatever your cue you may be using to help get you to like really lock that socket in place. So that is the hip capsule 90-90 stretch. Give it a try. You should be sore the next day, and get those hip capsules moving.